So Ryan, the machine intelligence space is unbelievably crowded.
Yes.
How do you navigate it?
Well, honestly, we use our own system to navigate it. We'll take in a lot of use cases and patents from a bunch of other folks out on the that we're competing with. We'll feed it through our system, and we'll be able to see who's competing in what space. And what I mean by that is machine intelligence has really been confused, and a lot of terms are being baked into the term machine intelligence.
Yeah, lay people like myself that don't know that much about it are conflating machine learning with deep learning with reinforcement learning.
That's right. And a lot of these algorithms go back to 25 years ago, 50 years ago, and they really started to work with the increase in compute power and the amount of data that is accessible to us today. So being able to train a system on massive amounts of data, you can then make it accessible to a business for value. At Kyndi, what we've done is less focusing on the deep learning and the machine learning and the reinforcement learning that a lot of companies are using today, but we've taken the lessons that we've learned from those techniques and we've complemented them with lessons that we've learned from the symbolic side of artificial intelligence. If you remember the expert systems of the 80s, right, the old school expert systems, and we brought in the structure from the symbolic methods and the statistical methods to have a new form of a new class of algorithms that achieve some really interesting results, mainly learning from small data sets, transfer learning, which is what reinforcement learning and deep learning is looking to do next. But then also with our algorithms, you start to see explainable outputs, which is what you can't get from statistical methods when it's just a black box. So you're right, there's a lot of terms being floated around out there. How you navigate it is really just focusing on which wave of AI it was. And there's been really two waves, the deep learning statistical, which I'll call the second wave, which is the most recent one. And then the first one was the expert systems, which was really symbolic methods.
You've been successful at building a great team around you. That's a challenge that a lot of founders face without the track record or the capitalization of a huge technology company. How did you do that?
Yeah, it was really the vision. So I finished my MBA in 2013. I went to the University of Notre Dame, and I came out at that time and I said, by 2025, all knowledge workers will have some form of AI-enabled workflow. And it was a mentor of mine that I met at Notre Dame who I shared that vision with, and he said, I got a guy. And he introduced me to my technical co-founder. And my technical co-founder, Aaron Majumdar, has been working in AI for 30 years. He's actually a Canadian citizen. He's from Montreal. Out of undergrad, he started working with Marvin Minsky out of MIT. Then from there, he started working with John Soa. John Soa is a Kyndi fellow, we started a fellowship program for our mentors. On that,
what was the first conversation with him like?
Yeah, it was really a lunch. We were only supposed to spend an hour together. We ended up spending 8 hours together. And I said,
8 hours?
Yeah, and I said, Aaron, we are in what is analogous to pre-industrial revolution. Massive inefficiencies in the knowledge economy. You and I are actually part of a group of
we're the cog in the wheel.
Yeah, 230 million people globally that waste $2 trillion annually being inefficient at our jobs. And he was so low on
relative to a machine.
You're right, relative to a machine. At the algorithmic level, he really didn't pick up his head and think about it that way. And then when I shared that vision, he goes, Ryan, I'm totally bought into that vision. Let's work together. And our mentor actually was our first seed investor, wrote us a check, and we got our business started.
Well, and that combination is also a challenge that a lot of founders have. It's just how do you get that expertise together? You've balanced it well. What would you say to young founders saying, how do I balance the different levels of technical competency I need?
Yeah, it's really at what stage of the company that you are. So early on, 80, 90% of OpEx was researchers. Right, building new algorithms.
Who often don't actually think about commercializing.
Absolutely. I was lucky enough to find people that like Aaron and his group of connections that were about applying AI to problems. So there was a deep research focus, but then also the desire to apply it to real use cases. And we joke internally at Kyndi that we don't play games. And what we mean by that is we build AI not to beat games and have another piece in the newspaper. We build AI to address real business needs.
Well, and I think that's a really interesting observation you make, that the knowledge-based employment force, the knowledge-based workforce is going to actually all have AI-enabled jobs. People always talk about automation eliminating jobs, but in fact, your vision is we're going to enable all these knowledge-based workers with new technologies.
That's right. People use the term augmented intelligence as opposed to artificial intelligence. And I really believe in this modern production process, we are the bottlenecks in that process, in that we can't turn information into knowledge and decisions any faster than our parents or grandparents, but there's more information there. So how do we increase the capacity? How do we increase our ability to do that work? I don't think there's enough people on the planet to do it. So how do you make us 100 times faster and 100 times smarter? And you do that by complementing us with machines.